Assalamualaikum Umar, apa kabar?
Selamat sore Bu Yuyun.
Halo sore, Mas Umar. Sehat ya sudah?
Sudah agak baikan Ibu, tadi sudah dari dokter juga.
Oh, syukurlah. Iya, iya, iya. Ini berarti
Dari rumah Ibu.
udah di rumah ya? Oke, oke. Oh, karena kami sudah ini ya, sudah nggak ada kelas dan nggak ada ini ya. Oke, good lah. Alhamdulillah. Kalau ini saya sudah saya kasih ini, saya kasih tahu kalau kita sudah di room, katanya masih sebentar lagi gitu masuk. Semoga aja segera. Semester berapa Mas Umar ini?
Saya semester
Ya?
2 Ibu. 2.
Berdua ya. Oke, oke. Oke. Iya. Berarti masih semester depan lah ya, ambil tes.
Insya Allah.
Rencananya mau ambil apa Mas Umar?
Saya komunikasi krisis Ibu.
Oh, oke, oke. So berarti di ini ya, di professional communication ya?
Betul.
Iyalah, sesuai dengan bidangnya ya. Oh, sejak tahun berapa Mas Umar digabung di Untak?
Saya itu awalnya freelance tahun 2018 akhir. Terus
Oke.
2019 baru jadi karyawan bulan Maret setelah lulus
Asik.
S1.
Oke, ya lumayan lah. Dulu kan Mbak Vika ya ininya sebelum dia jadi kaprodi ya di Humas itu ya.
Ya, Bu Vika betul.
Nah, sekarang siapa berarti di sana humasnya?
Sekarang Bu Karolin dari psikologi.
Oh, oke, oke. Oke. Iyalah. Good lah. Bismillah. Ini nanti. Ini yang pasti teman-teman S1 yang ngambil proposal skripsi saya minta untuk hadir. Terus teman-teman yang baru angkatan 2021 ya, genap 2021 juga saya minta hadir juga. Nah, ini Mas Fauzan ini ketua kelasnya.
Sailas sudah hadir.
Sailas sudah hadir. Mas Fauzan, apa kabar? Sehat ya? Hai Sailas. I'm gonna give you access.
Halo Bu.
Sehat Ibu.
Sehat.
Ya, sehat. Yeah.
Mas Fauzan di mana ini?
Di rumah saya Ibu.
Di rumah ya. Oke, semoga
Iya.
teman-teman yang lain hadirlah ini. So I have already given you the access of co-host Sailas so that you can share your PowerPoint if you're ready later on. Saya juga sudah kasih co-host untuk Mas Umar juga ya. Jadi kalau in case ada apa-apa itu, tapi saya akan terus di sini kok. Saya stay di sini.
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry, what did you say, Sailas?
I'm trying to do the share screen, but it's like still disabled.
Really? I have given. Oh, okay, hang on. Sorry. Now try.
All right. Gimana?
Good.
Okay.
Good. Sip.
I'm having to borrow someone's help to do this. Okay, let me see how this works. Just share.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Master of Media and Communication Postgraduate Student Research Showcase. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zumar, a student in Media and Communication of Universitas Airlangga. It is an honor for me to serve as your moderator today. This webinar is organized by the Master of Media and Communication, the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Airlangga. And it is amazing that we have you today as our participants. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you for your presence today. Pada hari ini saya tidak akan sendiri karena saya akan ditemani oleh pembicara kita, pemateri kita yang luar biasa, dan dia juga merupakan salah satu mahasiswa Magister Media dan Komunikasi Universitas Airlangga. Hello Silas. Silas, hello.
Yeah, hello.
Okay. So before we start, I'd like to introduce yourself to the participants. So Silas is one of our international students. His full name is Silas Ogenemaro Emowodo. Silas Ogenemaro Emowodo. Isn't it Silas? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Okay. How are you, Silas? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Okay. I'm good. So Silas is one of the most active people that he has 3 years of experience in journalism, development, and also volunteering. And as of today, he is serving as a graduate research assistant at our very own Master of Media and Communication graduate program. And also he is becoming one of the social media managers at FX Indonesia. And actually, it's not his very first master study, because previously he also had a master in social development back there in Nigeria. And today he's going to present his research entitled Sustainable Development Through the Lens of Creative Communities, Researching Digital Activism of Merah Putih Hijau Bali. Pada hari ini, Silas akan mempresentasikan hasil penelitiannya yang berjudul Pembangunan Berkelanjutan Melalui Lensa Komunitas Kreatif Merah Putih Hijau Bali pada Kegiatan Digitalnya. Dan Silas ini sesuai dengan bidangnya, yaitu di bidang development dan juga volunteering. Dia akan menjelaskan bagaimana komunitas Merah Putih Hijau Bali ini akan melakukan digital activism-nya. Silas, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes.
Oke. Teman-teman, para peserta, Anda diberikan kesempatan untuk bertanya, and you are allowed to ask the question whether using the on-cam or also using the chat feature in this Zoom meeting. So, Silas, I hope everything is okay and you may start the presentation. And everyone, for your information, Silas is actually here in Indonesia with us in Surabaya because he worked in our department, in communication department.
Okay, can I go on now?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Selamat sore.
Time is yours.
Selamat sore, Ibu Yuyun. Terima kasih atas kesempatan ini. Oh, I'm surprised I can still speak Bahasa. I thought I had lost my ability to speak Bahasa because I've been staying at home and just communicating online. But it's good to be back here. Good to see every one of you. And also to our moderator, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been an experience. I'm going to, and well, at the moment, I'm, under Dr. Irfan, because Dr. Irfan is one of my supervisors, he and Prof. Ida. And so, well, under Dr. Irfan, if he has some work that he would like me to help him with, I just help him with that. So, but yeah. So, anyways, I worked on, let me share my screen and then we get right into it. Okay. Is it clear?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I worked on, sustainable development through the lens of creative community, researching digital activism of Merah Putih Hijau Bali. So Merah Putih Hijau is in Bali, and they are still very much active. And this research was conducted basically to understand how creative communities can help or their contribution to sustainable development. All right. So, well, basically I have the abstract chapters 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to rush over that, and then I will focus on the findings, because that is what we just want to discuss about. But basically, I'll just give us the abstract so that everyone understands what basically it's about. This qualitative research explores the digital activism of a creative community, Merah Putih Hijau, Bali, and how significant a force this activism is in transforming the larger society of Bali with regards to environmental sustainability. Because not much is known about the impact of creative communities when it comes to sustainable development. So I basically used textual analysis. Primary data was collected from Merah Putih Hijau's Instagram page. Okay, and I also did in-depth interviews and observations of 4 core informants who made up the secondary data. And then the data analysis was informed by Giddens structuration theory, and then with a focus on agency, as well as Castell's theory of network society. So what are some of the things we discovered I discovered during this research? I discovered that MPH, that is MPH, Merah Putih Hijau's use of digital media to promote its activism towards sustainable development by posting emotion mobilizing images, text, and trending hashtags on its Instagram page to depict Bali's poor waste management problem. So one of the things I discovered is that people don't just post on Instagram because, especially an organization like MPH, they're not just posting because they want to put up a picture and they want you to just like the picture. But the idea of the picture together with the text and the hashtags that they use is to mobilize you emotionally so that you can take a step or take an action, all right? And that is activism. Also, when they have also discovered this problem, they respond to this problem, okay, with educational advocacy. So that's another thing that MPH does. Community engagement and training with a focus on separation of waste at the source to ensure sustainable development. And then, of course, the research concluded that sustainable development, when viewed through the lens of creative community, does support the process of change, you know, from one of environmental degradation. So I will just quickly run through. By the way, how many minutes do I have so that I don't
You have 15 to 30 minutes to speak.
Okay, let's see if we can do this in about 20 minutes. Okay. So, jadi, apa itu sustainable development? Sustainable development simply is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So whatever whatever development we are coming up with now, we must ensure that it does not hinder those who are coming behind from also meeting their own needs. So if we're going to build a house, for instance, make sure that you can build a house in such a way that 20, 30, 40 years from now, it will be easy to modify, you know, unlike how, you know, and that's why today you see all sort of, you know, floating houses, what, because there's a lot of development that's going on, not just put up something and then nobody can do anything about it. And then it has caused a whole lot of problems. So that's the idea of sustainable development. And it was in the 2002 Johannesburg World Summit that sustainability or sustainable development, was brought to the fore with three pillars. There are three pillars of sustainable development: the society, the economy, and the environment. And when we talk of sustainable development, this is what we're talking about. There is that coming together, the three of them. You see the economy on the one hand, you see the environment, you see social community, and it is the interaction of these three that produces sustainable development. There are different definitions of sustainable development, but all of these definitions have some things that they agree on. And so anytime you hear sustainable development, this is what your mind should tell you. It involves democratic and inclusive processes that gives people the freedom to decide and act in ways that impact both their present and the future. We're talking of equity and socially just outcomes. We're talking of a consideration for the needs of the future generation. We're talking of the lifestyle that supports eco-sustainability and environment. And of course, longevity of the planet in all of its forms. Okay. So what are the media roles in sustainable development? Because I am in media. So what role does the media play in sustainable development? The media is one of the major pillars of economic growth leading to sustainable development. Okay. The second thing is that the media has the ability to bring about behavioral and attitudinal change among members of the public. And this is what is required for sustainable development to take place. So if you want to be able to reach people, many studies have been conducted on how powerful the media is in bringing about change of perception and bringing about change in behavior and attitude among members of the public. And this is what we need for sustainable development to happen. And when we talk about digital activism, it's a digital activism phenomenon. One way media integrates sustainability topics in media formats is by ensuring informed and active citizenry. And then, of course, reliability, scale, speed, and increasing internet affordability, accounts for modern day activism success. So many of you have, gotten a lot of, you've joined a lot of, you've done activism for a lot of things, just sitting on, in your room and typing, liking a page or something. And so the internet allows that. And that is how some of the things that allows for success of activism today. So why did I choose Bali and why did I choose Meraputri Jao? Okay, so there is a major problem of waste in Bali, all right? About 1.6 million tons of waste is generated in Bali yearly, all right? Plastic waste, you can see all of the facts in this slide. 7% of Bali's plastic waste retrieved for recycling, only 7%. 48% is, handled by the 10 official landfills. So why did I choose MPH? Meraputri Jao goes beyond just plastic use reduction. They actually provide what they call a MPH circular approach to manage the materials and waste, and they recycle up to 90% of waste. And that way they're able to create revenue for community. And then also MPH is a new social movement. Okay, new social movement focus on bringing about social mobilization through cultural innovation, the development of new lifestyles, and transformation of identity. So what are the research objectives? Research questions, objective and significance. Research question 1, how this research intends to see how Meraputri Jao, MPH, uses digital media to promote its activism, advocacy towards sustainable development. Number 2, it intends to see how MPH as a creative community supports the process of change towards a more environmentally sustainable society, and how it does this through its agency role within a network of society. And well, why is this research significant? It approaches sustainable development from the point of view of creative communities, which is new, and their contributions to achieving sustainability. And secondly, the theory employed in this study has not been used in the creative communities context. So when we talk about sustainable development. I am proposing that when we bring creative communities and digital activism together, okay, what we have is sustainable development. That is what this research is promoting. So under my literature review, I have reviewed what is the creative industry, what is the creative community. Simply put, the creative industry are sectors that are organized activity that their main objective is production and reproduction of goods, services, and activities of content derived from cultural, artistic, or heritage origins. Okay. So, and all of these concepts and approaches, they share the common theme of creativity. Human creativity is the main input when it comes to creative industry. And what is a creative community? Creative community is that convergence of individuals who combine their talents in favor of change, creation, innovation, and advancement. Okay, so they have a shared characteristic, you know, of they come together, they intend to solve a problem. So solving when talented individuals come together, you know, like what MPH is they're coming together, young people who are talented in different aspects, and they come together to use their talents to deal with the problem of waste in Bali. So that is a creative community. Next, some of the other things that I talked about, which will be reflected later in the research, you know, is the relationship or the nexus between creative community and creative industry. And then I also look at the impact of creative industries on SDGs. By the way, you know, the SDGs are very important. 2030, we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the aim is that it will be achieved by the year 2030. And one of the reasons why I also embarked on this research is because a recent research that was done by the, commissioned by the Secretary General of the United Nations in 2020 showed that we still have a long way to go when it comes to achieving sustainable development goals. And sustainable development goals should be achieved all over the world by the year 2030. So now it's 2021. We have just 9 years to go. And so we're trying to see how can we achieve this. And I'm saying that if we are to incorporate creative communities, we can definitely, you know, achieve this. They have some impact, you know, on this. So what was the research methodology? It's a qualitative research, and my research object is the MPH Instagram page and 4 core informants. Data collection method was case study approach with textual analysis, okay, of the MPH Instagram, and then in-depth interview of informants. And of course, the data presentation analysis is a textual analysis of the Instagram post, as well as transcription of oral interview, data coding, classification things. MPH profile and local context in Bali. So when we talk of the local context of sustainable development, because itu karena itu sangat penting untuk konsep ini for its utilization di dalam konteks Bali harus delocalized, okay? It must be localized so that it can actually be effective. And so when we come to the local context of sustainable development in Bali, we have the concept of three itakarana. Those of you who are used to, or who know Bali very well, you know the concept of three itakarana. And the concept of three itakarana, of course, it talks of, let me see. Okay, these are my core informants, 4 of them who are related to. And then 3 itakarana, local context of sustainable development in Bali. The belief in man and God is creator, Parhayangan. Then we have Palemahan, man and the natural environment where he resides. And then we have Pawangan, man and his fellow humans. And also we have, and this is what led to what was known as the Subak farming concept in Bali. And that really helped Bali to, you know, produce a lot of food, especially rice, before tourism took over. Now there's been like a lot of land that has been used for tourism, building up structures and all of that. And so there's less land for farming. And but when the Suba concept was used, we saw that there was, a lot of, it helped in agriculture. So basically what 3 Takarana does is that it ensures that man and his environment, it's like a interaction, like the weaving together of man and his environment. So man, God, man, environment are like together. And that is how it is understood in Bali. So what is the digital activism of Merah Putih Hijau in Bali? So for this study, I analyzed 11 Instagram posts, and they were posted between 2019 and 2020. And from the 11 Instagram posts, I made 12 preliminary codes. Okay, plastic, that is repeated words. What were some of the terms that kept popping up each time? Plastic, land, environment, nature, separation, education, community, organic waste, recycling, non-organic waste, waste management facility. And so from these 12, I now categorize into 3, okay? Make up the themes, 3 themes. Number 1, waste management problem. Number 2, education and training with a focus on separation. And number 3, community participation and the process of change. Jadi di sini kalian bisa lihat ada foto. Ini foto tempat, what do you call it? Tempat untuk buang waste, okay? Dan ini plastic. And you can see that it's a green land, but then it's all covered in plastic. And you can see the information. Ini ada teksnya di accompanying the picture. Di daratan ditemukan 2,1 ton sampah plastik setiap kilometer persegi. Ini one of the problems, salah satu masalahnya di Bali. Then, number 2, one of the other photos and posts that I analyzed, kami bisa lihat fakta bahwa 70% sampah di Bali berupa sampah organik. Okay, and then ini juga ada 29 ton sampah yang dikelola oleh MPH setiap harinya, dan ini setara dengan 4 kali elephant. What is elephant in Bahasa? Forgot what elephant is in Bahasa. So I try to answer the first research question. Bagaimana MPH menggunakan media digital untuk mempromosikan aktivisme towards sustainable development. Sustainable development is a kelestarian.
Pengembangan berkelanjutan.
Well, okay, you got that. So, in analyzing this, I look at the post, the pictures, and the text. Jadi, I am able to come up with the first theme. MPH menggunakan emotion mobilizing images untuk to promote or to show that ada masalah waste management di Bali. Okay, ada masalah waste management di Bali. Dan mereka menggunakan foto-foto dan posting-postingnya di IG untuk memunculkan, to bring it to the fore, to make it appear. Karena if people, kalau semua orang bisa lewat, atau sudah jadi biasa untuk banyak orang untuk melihat sampah-sampah plastik dan lain-lain di tanah, atau di tanah, you find a lot of plastic, people can become used to that. Okay, jadi ketika mereka posting di IG, itu akan they do it in such a way to arouse your emotion. Okay, jadi bring up emosi-emosi tentang masalah ini. Jadi when you open your Instagram, kami ide kami tentang IG, kami open IG dan nonton foto-foto yang cantik dan baik kan, dan banyak orang bisa like dan share. Tapi ketika kami nonton seperti post ini dari MPH di page-nya, ini akan it will bring up that emotion. Karena ini bukan biasa foto-foto kami suka nonton di IG. Jadi tujuannya untuk bring up emosi to depict dan bisa muncul masalah waste management yang di Bali. So the emotional mobilizing images invite viewers to ponder. Jadi pikiran, okay, tentang masalah waste management, masalah plastik, masalah climate, masalah environment di lingkungan di Bali. And then it also goes on to show that it is an important problem that needs to be addressed. Okay, this situation has to be addressed. The creative community, through the text, okay, that follows it, they call viewers into reflection on what the consequences will be if they are not environmentally friendly. Dari postingnya yang di kanan, the teksnya, it says MPH, jumlah ini tentunya akan terus bertambah jika kita semua dapat dengan baik mengelola sampah yang kita hasilkan. Tapi perlu diingat, kita juga harus memisahkan setiap sampah agar dapat dimaksimalkan dan dapat dimanfaatkan kembali. Apakah kamu salah satunya? Okay, so jadi ada action call, ya. There's a call to action, and that is what this does. The second one, yang kedua, theme kedua itu education and training with focus on separation. Creative communities response to waste problem. Now, MPH sudah temukan salah satu masalah di Bali. Jadi sekarang responsnya apa? Respons mereka itu edukasi dan training. Edukasi dan latihan dengan fokus on separation. What is separation? Separation of waste. Okay. Dari foto-foto ini kami bisa lihat cara-cara yang MPH menggunakan untuk mengedukasi orang desa, warga di Bali. On the left, you can see the plastic container, ya, yang warna hijau dan warna merah. Itu telling you yang warna merah, you can only put waste that is basah. Warna hijau, sorry, untuk dibuang yang basah. And then the other one that is red is for dry stuff, yang kering. Okay. Jadi itu separasi. Jangan campur semua. Karena ketika campur cannot be used anymore. Okay, difficult to use. So we can separate yang kering, buang dan waste yang kering dari yang basah. And that way it's easier to process. Dan yang foto yang di kanan ada ibu-ibu atau para wanita. Dua mereka membaca dari magazine. Ada salah satu magazine tentang recycling. Jadi ini salah satu respons dari MPH untuk masalah waste management di Bali, untuk edukasi. Dan ada fokusnya on separation. Separation of waste from the source. Dari rumah kami bisa separate. The next one, the creative community is not only using digital media to advocate for sustainable development by use of emotion mobilizing images and strongly worded text, tapi they accompany the images to reveal waste management problems in Bali. They also engage in community engagement. I don't know how you say community engagement in Bahasa. Ketika through their interaction with the community in Bali, you know, where they have their facilities and they go there and train people, they are able to engage the community. Karena members of the community, anggota masyarakat, mereka punya responsibility, okay? They have a responsibility to be involved. They are the ones who will carry out these changes as it were. So, ini respons MPH untuk masalahnya. Number one, they use their Instagram, posting pictures to mobilize emotion. And then number two, they educate the people, okay? And also they engage in community engagement. That is, they can engage, they can talk with the people, they can enlighten them, they can get questions. Right. Ini juga, the creative community also uses social media posts to advocate for sustainable development and as a response to the identified problem by educating and training viewers on separation of waste from the source, which is key to sustainable development as seen in the pictures that I have shown you. So from this, ini juga mereka punya program untuk anak-anak, you know, anak SD and all of that. Karena they have to ensure that they protect the future. Remember the definition, Helen Martin got definitely sustainable development, yeah, when we started. Protect, whatever we do now will not hinder the needs of those coming generations. So, ketika mereka juga educate anak-anak, they are able to grow up with that sense, with that understanding, you know, about sorting waste and all of that. Okay. Next, in a research question, Duan, how does MPH as a creative community movement support a process of change towards a more environmentally sustainable society by its agency role within a network of society? Untuk ini ada tema ketiga, tema itu community participation and process of change. Dari foto ini, dari post ini kami bisa baca sudah terbuka 50 lapangan pekerjaan untuk warga desa di 3 fasilitas MPH. What we see is that when the community engages in environment, in waste management, recycling, and all of that, they are able to achieve some of the sustainable development goals, okay? And one of it is work, providing work for people. When the people have jobs, we have been able to, this of course involves community participation. Karena, what do you call them? People, anggota warga akan kerja di tempat, di bisnis atau berusaha yang muncul atau menciptakan dari proses sustainable development. The other thing we see is this, materi yang telah terkumpul akan diolah menjadi produk yang memiliki nilai jual seperti pupuk kompos dan bahan dasar daur ulang yang akan diberikan ke Penada. Jadi, not only do they process this waste, these materials become a product that also can be sold, and it's also useful for the community members. So in this way, community members have to participate. Jadi, through this process, we see that community members are invited to contemplate on the social and community members are invited to participate in the social and economic impact, to contemplate rather, on the social and economic impact that environmental sustainability offers, including the fact that while we are pursuing environmental cleanliness and sustainability, jobs are being created, for the villagers. And that way we're addressing both the social and the economic pillars of sustainable development. Don't forget other bigger pillars, 3 pillars of sustainable development: the social, the economic, and the environmental. Jadi, ketika kami fokus on the environmental, contohnya recycling, mengelola what is it called? Waste. They end up creating a product that can be sold and can make money for community members. They end up setting up a facility where community members can work. And that way, community members are engaged in the process of change that is needed for sustainable development to take place. Jadi, from the verbal text, we see 50 new job opportunities were created for the participating community. It is clear that in engaging in environmental sustainability, where as one of the pillars, we end up achieving 2 others, okay? And this is further seen in how it helps to achieve sustainable development goals. There are 17 ada 17 goals atau tujuan untuk sustainable development. Dan by focusing, or just by focusing on environment, which is one of the pillars, already we're able to, they've been able to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 4, Sustainable Development Goal 8, about provision of work, about care, life on land and life beneath the sea, beneath the water, life on land, clear environment, and all of that. We see that in Sustainable Development Goals 4, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, just by focusing on one pillar of sustainable development. And now we see that through its agency role within a network of society, the replication of repeated, because the agency role talks of the structuration theory of Giddens. It focuses on agency, and agency simply, talks about replication of routine, repeated routine, what people do over, repeat over a period of time, that it has a way of changing, the overall outcome that we get. And we see that the replication or repeated routines or activities of waste separation from the source, education and awareness through education for sustainable development, as well as recycling, brings about a consciousness and active participation, active participation of the Balinese people to care for the environment. And this way, it reveals MPH as a creative community movement supporting that process of change towards a sustainable society. Okay, I'm trying to just rush through this. We'll take questions when we're done. Okay, what are some of the conclusions, theoretical implications, and recommendations? Dari penelis ini konklusinya sustainable development. Ketika kami lihat sustainable development dari lensa creative community, komunitas kreatif, kami bisa lihat creative communities support the process of change from one of environmental degradation, one where people don't care, they just eat something and throw it on the floor and plastic litters everywhere. It actually supports a process that brings about a consciousness in people, that they are now conscious and aware, that they need to change their attitude, they need to change their orientation, they need to change their outlook. And that way, it supports a process of change from one of environmental degradation to a more environmental friendly lifestyle, as we see in those communities that MPH is working or is active in Bali. Number two is that the theoretical implication is that through the social theories by Anthony Giddens and Manuel Castells, this research, concludes or elucidates that creative community of MP, through its waste management process, supports and brings about a change from environmental degradation to a more environmentally sustainable society. And my recommendation is that because MPH, Merah Putih Hijau itu, Sangat, they have like a very strong focus, and they're doing a lot of work in education and in community engagement. So, and we have ada salah satu konsepnya dari what is it called? Dari United Nations. It's called Education for Sustainable Development. Education for Sustainable Development is as good as, in fact, it's recognized, just like we have our normal education system. Okay, so I am recommending that the creative community should take a step further and collaborate with regional government of Bali to develop a comprehensive curriculum, menciptakan curriculum yang baru untuk establishing education for sustainable development as part of our approved subject of study for every learner and of all age groups in that region. Karena sekarang mereka di Bali, they still do their education and awareness program. Just it's not an educational thing in the school. It's not, they don't have a curriculum. Tidak ada curriculum di sekolah. Jadi it's just salah satu program dari MPH untuk warga. Tapi ini saya rekomend integrasi dan kolaborasi dengan pemerintah Bali untuk establishing education for sustainable development as programs that will be taught in schools, and that way for all age groups in the region. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Kalau ada questions or anything, I'll respond. So over to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silas, for your presentation. What a very amazing and also comprehensive presentation you have presented to us. And before we move to the question and answer session, I'd like to conclude some of points that you have presented. That penelitian dari Silas ini berkaitan dengan salah satu dari Sustainable Development Goals, salah satu agendanya yaitu pembangunan berkelanjutan. Nah, dari pembangunan berkelanjutan ini salah satu aspek yang penting adalah berkaitan dengan lingkungan, di mana lingkungan ini menjadi concern dari Merah Putih Hijau Bali, sebuah komunitas di bidang sustainable development yang diteliti oleh Silas. Nah, di sini Silas memiliki dua research question. Yang pertama adalah bagaimana MPH itu menggunakan platform digital, menggunakan media digital untuk mempromosikan advokasi mereka yang berkaitan dengan sustainable development. Dan yang kedua adalah bagaimana MPH sebagai komunitas kreatif, sebagaimana judul penelitian ini, mendukung bagaimana proses perubahan sosial yang terjadi di bidang sustainable development. Dan hasilnya, Silas melakukan beberapa pengumpulan data, misalnya melalui textual analysis pada beberapa postingan Instagram dari MPH, yang mana dia menemukan bahwa MPH itu melakukan mempromosikan ya Sustainable Development Goals, dan juga mereka mengedukasi masyarakat terkait dengan Sustainable Development, di mana mereka menggunakan postingan yang emotional ya, yang emotional. Jadi mereka itu mengengage emosi dari audiens mereka. Dan yang terakhir berkaitan dengan change melalui media sosial itu juga MPH itu bisa melalui tindakan mereka, MPH misalnya mereka membuka lowongan pekerjaan pada beberapa bidang di MPH, sehingga mereka secara tidak langsung juga mengajak partisipasi masyarakat untuk mewujudkan sebuah sustainable development. Dan demikian kesimpulan yang bisa saya sampaikan. Sebelum mohon maaf, dan kami persilakan kepada participants untuk bertanya, boleh melalui kolom chat ataupun boleh on cam. Kami persilakan. And we also ask you to give. Okay, the first question comes from Bu Titi. Bu Titi, time is yours.
Okay, terima kasih Umar. Thank you Silas for the presentation. I'm sorry I cannot use my video. So my question is, Silas, is this media activism by Merah Putih Hijau tend to target the local Balinese or also targeting tourists in Bali as the audience? Because in my imagination, all the waste rubbish in Bali are also part of the result of the tourism in Bali. So do you think this media activism by MPH only targeting the local Balinese, or maybe you find in the response from the post in the Instagram, is there any can it engage tourists also in Bali to concern about waste management in Bali? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu, for your question. Yes, okay, so I'm trying to see, because like Ibu said, the problem of waste management is not only from the local, okay? Actually, there's a lot of that comes from, I'm trying to see my slide where I was choosing in my introduction why I chose Bali and Merah Putih Hijau. And we noticed that most of the waste, okay, let me share this so that everyone can see. Yeah. In here, why Bali and Merah Putih Hijau? Number one, about 1.6 million tons of waste generated in Bali yearly, plastic waste 303,000 tons, and 33,000 tons leaking into Bali waterway. Over 3 times of waste generated by residents of Bali by Indonesian and international tourists. So that answers the question, or I mean, that confirms the thought of Ibu Titik that it's not only locals who contribute to the waste problem in Bali. Including tourists as well. And yes, the approach of MPH, while it focuses on the locals, it reaches out to tourists as well. Okay. And how do I know this? From their post, Dari Posting Mereka, they do not only limit their post to Bahasa. So you see that most of their post is translated, and there is both Bahasa and English. I'm going to share the screen so that you can see one of them. So for me, that is one of the things that tells me that they are not only looking at the locals, but also they are mindful of the, so you can see here, for instance, di atas ada teksnya di dalam bahasa Indonesia, dan di bawahnya ada teksnya di dalam bahasa Inggris. That's one of the ways I know that they are not only reaching out to locals, but also to the tourists and foreigners. Number two is that they actually have some collaboration. While I was doing the work, I came across, because I had to check some of the hashtags that they used. And I came across, in fact, this was initially when I was trying to reach the organization and they were not responding. So I came across using one of the hashtags, I came across a foreigner who visited from Germany, and she was in Indonesia for about a period of whether 2 or 3 months on vacation or something. And for those 2-3 months, she actually volunteered with Merah Putih Hijau, you know, and then they did some projects together, cleaning up the sea and water, plastic and all of that. So that way I know that they actually do target both the local and foreign.
Thank you, Silas.
Thank you, Bu Titi. And thank you also for Silas for the answer. And anyone with the next question, please? Okay. Gustav Wijaya has a raised hand. Please, Gustav.
Hello, Silas. Actually, I follow your previous presentation, so I know you progress. I think it's a different slide than previously.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I wonder when your presentations are 2 or 3 months ago, the account is actually freezing. The MPH Instagram is actually freezing, right? So, and today they have a new color, like a new design. Do you know what happened to them, or you remind them? Only that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. So yes, as at the time I was, turning in my, research and defending it for my thesis, they actually they were not posting and all of that. And I did ask, because I had to ask them what's going on and all of that. So, well, I don't know. I didn't get a response from the person I asked, which was a bit strange. But shortly after that, I saw that they started posting again. So I would think that and in fact, from that period up till now, they have gone into different other communities in Bali, other desert in Bali, and they've, done some projects, they've initiated projects, because I also follow them on Instagram and I see some of the work that they do. But at the time I was doing this, I had to ask them what was the problem and all of that. So, well, I didn't get the response, but when I was going to check after, and then I saw that, oh, they started working, and I thought, okay, that's that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gustav. And jadi untuk para peserta, Anda tidak hanya diberikan kesempatan untuk bertanya, tapi juga diberikan kesempatan untuk memberikan saran atau masukan membangun kepada Silas. Jadi kami persilakan kembali bagi yang ingin bertanya ataupun memberikan saran untuk raise hand ataupun menuliskan pertanyaannya di kolom chat. Okay.
Can I also add, while we're waiting for the questions, that the work that MPH is doing in in Bali, it actually also takes into consideration the local context. Remember, Tri Takarana that I mentioned earlier, it does take into consideration. Jadi, from some of the posts, would see that, there is an interaction between human and nature. You will see that there's an interaction between human and nature, human and God, human and his environment. We see Pawangan, human to human relations. So they do take into consideration the local context of that. So Tri Tarana is also, as it were, involved in, considered in what the MPH does in Bali.
Okay, I see that someone is raising hand. Bu Yuyun Surya, please, if you have question, time is yours.
Yeah.
Bu Yuyun,
please unmute.
Okay, Silas, I was wondering whether you have ever thought about the opportunity of this kind of activism being applied to other cities. I mean, like in Surabaya, you live in Surabaya for 2 years, right? So what do you think about the same digital activism, like the creative communities that also, relate to the environment issues like this, like Merah Putih Hijau Bali, being applied to Surabaya as well? I mean, like those, Bali and Surabaya are the same big city and have the same problems of waste management, I guess. So do you think that it is applicable to Surabaya or other cities, big cities in Indonesia in general?
Thank you for your question, Ibu. I definitely think that it is very applicable. As a matter of fact, I think one of the things that has happened to me, one of the changes that I have observed is that after this thesis, I have been much more aware, of my community, of my environment. I'll give you an example. Even in the house that I live in now, I noticed that in our waste bin, everybody just throws both the basa and the kerin into the waste bin. And then outside of the building, we have the different containers. One should be for recyclable, one should be for, this, but the buckets are not labeled. So everything is just champor. And of course, people already have done the champor inside the house. So by the time they throw it out, it's the champor. And the people who come to, so each time I'm just thinking, oh my goodness. I have done a theoretical work, but I can't see its application here in right here at my doorstep, and that is where education comes in. And I believe that there are creative communities in Surabaya that they may not be doing it, but they can as well do that if they are conscious. At least in some cafes that I go to, I see, in Surabaya, I think if you go to cafes, you would see a lot of, I think cafes have also become, as it were, a creative community, because you see the barista who is creative, and then you see a music band sometimes, presenting live, and then they can, some of them, depending on how they want to spice it up. And I think these are avenues that can be exploited to actually educate people in Surabaya on especially waste management from the source. It's
Thank you, Silas.
Yeah, something I really.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Yuyun. Okay, Silas. I'll be asking you a question regarding the research itself. That today our participants are those students who will be taking thesis in the next semester, or even they are currently doing their research. And my question is, what kind of challenge that you have faced during doing the research, and also how did you overcome the challenge? Maybe you could give the advice to the students.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think the biggest challenge was COVID. COVID was a big challenge. You have to, your research methodology has to, well, fortunately for those of you who probably would just be starting, or those of you who have just started, you already factored in COVID to your work. When I started, or while I was doing all the work, we didn't know COVID was going to happen, and then COVID happened. Jadi, my methodology had to change. So I think it's very important that you take into consideration what is going on around you. If you're going to use a case study or whatever, please make sure you use somewhere that you can easily access. Okay. Consider your funding. Do you have funding or not? Kalau kalian punya funding, okay, good. Kalau tidak ada funding at all, just make sure that you consider all of those things. And most importantly, accessibility. Consider accessibility to your case study, or how accessible is your research object, and always be in touch with your supervisor. For me, that was the biggest plus, Of course, ada beberapa waktu saya bingung bagaimana ini, what am I supposed to do? It's like I'm stuck. It's like there's a writer's block. Okay, I believe that all of you know what that is. You have done all the reading you want to do, and then to start working, and you're just like, oh my God, what's happening? I can't write anything. Okay, or you feel like you're stuck. Please always be in touch with your supervisor. It is very, very important. Every time I got in touch with my supervisors, and I went with any challenge, and I told them this is the problem I'm facing, I always left our meetings and consultations much better, much more confident, you know, than I felt before I approached them. So I discovered that, okay, the longer I stay away from my supervisors, then the more harm I'm doing myself. So just always be in touch with them. That will help.
Okay, thank you so much, Silas, for the advice. Yeah, sangat berguna for us who are going to take thesis in the next semester. Okay, teman-teman, apakah ada yang masih ingin bertanya? Kami persilakan untuk mungkin bertanya, memberikan saran juga dipersilakan. Okay. I think all of the participants have already got it clear to your presentation. Okay, if there is no more question, I think this webinar is coming to an end. Okay, no. Before we close this session, I think we have Mas Iga here, Mas Iga Satriwibawa. Halo Mas Iga.
Hello.
Okay, so the research is talking about Merah Putih Hijau Bali, Merah Putih Hijau Bali ya. It's a creative community. Maybe you have saran, advice, or maybe comments to Mr. Silas' research, please.
Oh, regarding... yeah. My apologies, I can't turn on my video for some reasons. Hi, Silas. We met you again.
Hello, Pa. Yeah, good to meet you again.
I gave you my suggestion last time we met in the sidang, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. I advise you to put more perspective on Trihita Karana and the way the Balinese people using the local wisdom in this case, because I believe as a Balinese, they certainly have, you know, like various ways to trying to close with the natures and trying to dissolve these issues, especially when we face with the, you know, I call it modern issues with the waste and things. I haven't got chance to read your, you know, revised proposal after the presentation, so maybe you can explain me. And also, my apologies, I'm a bit late to come to this presentation, but good work, Charles.
Thank you so much. So yes, is my audio on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
Good. I did put factor in the Trihita Karana. It was one of the major things I did on the work. And I did, one of the things that I found out, in fact, during the course of this study is that the study found that the value system of Trihita Karana, which sees the Balinese fuse humanity, spirituality, and the environment as one indivisible whole and an integral part of the Balinese, is embedded in the advocacy of the environmental sustainability by MPH. And this allows sustainable development to be practiced within the local context of the larger Balinese community. It was discovered from the core informants that the creative community of MPH only works to share a new system of waste management without changing the traditional values of the Balinese people, which is found in the concept of Trihita Karana. It's seen in their daily routine and education training, which blends both waste management and the traditional concept to birth something new, you know, which is the attitudinal change among community members. And I also found that this is consistent with other studies that had been done. For example, Jiang et al., 2019, who asserted that creative community not only leads to an interface of creative industry and community culture, but goes beyond that to reveal a city's reinventive and creative ability at the community level. So, and how did we see this? In some of the posts, in some of their posts, we see how they focus on the man, man to man. How is that said in Bahasa? Pawangan. So when they do their, for example, when they engage in community engagement and education, the focus is on man to man. When one of the informants told me that he does this Sampat, like a small club for small children, teaching them waste management, how to separate waste from their kitchen before they take it out. We see that the focus is on man relating to man in that case. So this is something that they really focus on, and that's why they focus on community engagement, that the community members must be involved. That is man, relating to man. And also when it comes to Palemahan, human to nature, they teach them, for example, how to, where is that? It's one of the photos where they teach them man's interactions with nature, okay? When they go for this, one of my photos where we see like the community engagement, they talk of the participation of villagers has always been an indicator of the success of any MPH program, as in the village of Taro, where village facilities are managed directly by them. That way they have a sense of responsibility to continue to maintain the cleanliness of the environment so that the village will continue to be beautiful and green. In that sense, you see Palemahan, human to nature. So their participation, shows that will help them to maintain the cleanness of the environment. And these are the things that are contained in the concept of Tri Tita Karana.
Good point, Silas, good point. And also, despite the idea of the Palemahan and Pawangan, and also it's a common practice in Bali when we believe that if the place or the trees or anywhere we consider it sacred or holy, we don't throw waste on that area. So in that case, sometimes the Banjar will put like, the clothes on the big trees, and eventually the area surround the trees will be clean because people will think, oh, that is the holy sacred. So they don't put waste in there. This is kind of, we can utilize this local wisdom actually to, to prevent more waste coming to our neighborhood. But good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iga and also Silas. Is there any more question? Okay, I think, okay, there is no question. So what Silas pernyataan Silas tadi sekaligus mengakhiri perjumpaan kita pada sore hari ini. Thank you so much, Silas, for coming. Also, thank you so much, Bu Yuyun, Mas Iga, Bu Titi, for coming to this webinar. And also, thank you so much to all the participants. We are delighted to have you all. And I wish Silas success for the next research, the next project, or even the next career. And also, I wish all the participants will be as success as Silas in doing the research. So I am Umar on behalf of the Master of Media and Communication. Thank you so much for coming. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Mas Umar. Thanks Silas. Good job. Terima kasih semuanya.
See you in Bali on July, Silas, if you go to Bali.
All right.
I'll be in Bali in July, so see you in Bali.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih, Bu.